Hi, it's Katrina! To some frozen fruitcake left behind by explorers, to the skeletal remains of lost pirates, here are 11 of some of the most incredible archaeological discoveries. Number 11. The Thracian Chariot. Ancient horse and chariot burials found in Bulgaria have been quite the mystery for archaeologists. A team led by Veselin Ignatov discovered an ancient wooden chariot in 2008 that dates back 2,000 years. It was discovered covered in bronze and would have been decorated in colorful scenes from Thracian mythology. A year later, in 2009, the same team of researchers discovered a brick tomb with the remains of a man adorned in armor, very near to where the chariot was found. The man was discovered buried with gold coins, rings, and a silver cup showing the image of the Greek god Eros. It's not exactly clear who this man was, but scientists believe he was probably a nobleman or even an ancient ruler of Thrace, the extinct kingdom that thrived in what is now Bulgaria. The Greeks and Romans described the Thracians as barbarian tribal people who were very warlike and were often hired as mercenaries, but much about the Thracians remains a mystery. It's one thing to hear what everyone was saying about them, and another entirely to find archaeological evidence of their culture and values. They clearly also loved horses and jewelry. Noblemen were frequently buried near their chariots starting around 2,500 years ago. The practice gained popularity in some places during the Roman Empire, lasting from between 2,100 to 1,500 years ago. Chariots represented prestige, authority, and unyielding power, and were most likely used to travel in the afterlife. The horses buried with the chariot were probably sacrificed to accompany their ruler, along with other animals like dogs and sheep. They were also buried covered in metal decorations. Surprisingly, burials like this are commonly found all throughout Bulgaria, but it is very hard to find chariot tombs that haven't been looted. Mr. Ignatov says that maybe 90% of the tombs have been completely or partially destroyed by treasure hunters who then sell the precious objects abroad. Number 10. Ancient fruitcake in Antarctica. Would you eat cake that was over 100 years old? Turns out Antarctica is the perfect place to store your food for the next generation. Just kidding. But scientists have actually discovered the oldest fruitcake ever. Yeah, fruitcake. It's common knowledge that fruitcakes can stay around for a pretty long time, but conservators in Antarctica have come upon a fruitcake that lasted for quite a bit longer than expected. It's 110 years old, still fresh in the wrapper. Do you even like fruitcake? Does anybody out there like fruitcake? Apparently explorers do, because it's a good way to keep up your calories in the freezing weather. This particular piece was found in one of the very first buildings ever constructed in Antarctica, probably brought over in 1910 during the Terra Nova expedition of the famous explorer Robert Falcon Scott. According to the Antarctic Heritage Trust, it was even documented that Scott took this exact brand of fruitcake with him on the expedition. It was on the list of supplies. It looks like nobody wanted to eat it, and the cake got left behind, just sitting in the abandoned structure for over 100 years until it was just recently discovered. But here's the really amazing part. The cake itself is actually so well preserved that it's almost edible. Of course, this is thanks to the cold Antarctic weather, but it's still pretty impressive. The cake was part of over 1,500 other artifacts, all collected from the two ancient huts at Cape Adare in Antarctica. Number 9. Ancient tattoo instrument. An ancient tattooing tool has recently been discovered in North America, and as far as we know, it could be the oldest tattooing artifact ever found on the continent. What's really crazy is that the tool was just recently found sitting in an old box inside of museum storage. An anthropology PhD candidate at Washington State University stumbled upon the instrument completely by accident while he was taking inventory of the different artifacts at the university. According to Washington State, his find has great significance, as it could help researchers to understand what role tattoos played in the indigenous cultures of North America. We know almost nothing about the tattooing practices of prehistoric people throughout Native American cultures. What archaeologists do know is that tattooing was more prevalent thousands of years ago than it is today, especially for religious groups and wealthier individuals who covered themselves in tattoos to show off their abundance. However, the big issue here is that ink is not generally preserved even in mummified bodies. For example, the oldest figurative tattoos were recently discovered on Egyptian mummies that were 5,000 years old, according to the Journal of Archaeological Science. But this is very rare. As of today, not a single tattoo has been found on any preserved human body throughout the United States, and that's what makes the discovery of the tattooing artifact so amazing. Number 8. The Lion Man. The Lion Man is considered to be a masterpiece from the Ice Age. Dating back to around 40,000 years old, it is a figurine carved from mammoth ivory with the head of a cave lion and the body of a human. The Lion Man is considered a sculpted masterpiece of great originality, huge technical skill, and unbelievable imagination, as reported by the British Museum. It's only a few inches tall, and judging by the incredible artistic detail, this cat-human hybrid was meant to be a powerful and mysterious figure, and from a world beyond anything found in nature. He's watching and listening. The British Museum says that this is the first known representation of a being that does not exist in the physical world, and it could be the first real leap that our ancestors made from the world of the living to the world of the supernatural. In 2013, there was a special exhibit at the Museum Ulm where the lion was deconstructed into 800 pieces and then reassembled, and a sculptor created a replica using only the tools that would have been available. It took him over 370 hours and countless blisters, but he was able to replicate it in a mini-documentary called The Lion Man: The Experiment. The Lion Man was first discovered in a cave in the south of Germany back in 1939, and scientists know by the erosion on its body that it was probably passed around from person to person as part of a ritual. But of course, we don't know what the story was about, or whether it was a deity, a human on some type of quest, or perhaps part of a creation story. Unfortunately, we will probably never know the stories that were told around the fire about the Lion Man 40,000 years ago, but it is incredible that he has even survived at all. Number 7. Bronze Age graves. Stonehenge is still revealing secrets even after all this time. Now, Bronze Age graves have just been uncovered at the site of Stonehenge, and they are shedding some new light on the ancient architects of this amazing monument. Archaeologists were doing some digging before the controversial A303 tunnel gets built near Stonehenge. The entire area has been suffering due to heavy traffic and congestion, and so there is a new tunnel project underway to divert traffic from the ancient monument. However, archaeologists are worried that the construction might destroy other possible evidence. Now they are in a rush, but while the project may be a bit controversial, it has revealed some new, fascinating archaeological discoveries. A collection of ancient graves near the Stonehenge Visitor Center contain Neolithic pottery, the remnants of an unknown C-shaped enclosure, and the remains of a baby's ear bones inside of a plain pottery beaker. They also found a grave with the remains of a man inside believed to be 4,000 years old. But what's really fascinating about this is that it's just the tip of the iceberg. As the construction continues to move forward, the archaeologists will be on site to make sure that not a single new discovery is missed. Number 6. An ancient figure. Archaeologists exploring the ruins of the ancient city of Myra have found 50 unique terracotta figurines that depict humans, gods, and even animals. The discovery of the figurines was made by researchers working for Actenis University at an ancient Roman theater. Researchers believe that the figurines date as far back as the Hellenistic period, right around the time that Alexander the Great died in 323 BC. The leader of the dig said that the figurines were a big, unexpected surprise, and that it was almost as if the ancient people of Myra were suddenly resurrected through the miniature artistic statuettes. The figurines are only a few inches tall, and some of the more interesting figures include Artemis, Apollo, and even Hercules. Some of them were so well preserved that they still had remnants of coloring, from red to blue to pink. This shows the archaeologists what kind of colors these ancient people were wearing. It also reveals the exact type of clothing that was popular back then, which is definitely a bit different from what you see in the movies. Besides the terracotta figurines, researchers found ceramic, bronze, lead, and silver artifacts around the theater. Myra was once one of the most important towns in ancient Turkey, when the area was known as Lycia. Thousands of years ago, the Roman amphitheater in which these figurines were found would have been one of the most impressive buildings throughout the region, and remains so to this day. Number 5. Beast carving. DNA evidence has revealed some extraordinarily strange truths about a rather odd bovine creature that was painted on a European cave wall during the last ice age. Here's how it happened. Cave paintings all over Europe depict two different kinds of bison. There is one with long horns and a big hump, and there is another with shorter horns and a smaller hump. These smaller bison were painted about 22,000 years ago. However, the larger bison appeared 17,000 years ago. And here's where things get interesting. Until just recently, scientists were positive that the two different bison were actually the same steppe bison but drawn differently because of a change in the artistic styles of the time. but it turns out that they were completely different animals. By using DNA sequencing of teeth and bones taken from 64 different bison, scientists have figured out that about 120,000 years ago, breeding between the ordinary steppe bison and the extinct auroch created an ancestor of modern-day cattle that is currently also extinct. But basically, it was a new type of bison previously unknown to science. This explains the two different animals in the cave paintings, and even more than that, like why archaeologists have discovered bison bones from the Ice Age that don't match any already known size or morphology from either the bison or the aurochs. Scientists from the University of Adelaide used this new information and analyzed bison DNA and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that European bison descended from this mysterious hybrid animal. But nobody is entirely sure what happened to it, with most scientists agreeing it just kind of went away. Number 4. The Newton Stone. The Newton Stone is a very strange monolith inscribed with a message that nobody has ever been able to solve. It was first discovered in 1804 when the Earl of Aberdeen was laying a road near an old farmhouse. It is carved with a message in a language that nobody has been able to solve. To make matters even more mysterious, the writing has been interpreted as using no less than 5 different ancient alphabets. It's a total enigma, and it was eventually uprooted from where it was discovered in the middle of nowhere and placed in the garden of Newton House by the late Scottish antiquarian Alexander Gordon. The stone stands about 9 feet tall, it's decorated in strange horizontal lines and geometric shapes, and at the top is a script that almost looks Roman, but which definitely is not. There is also an inscription in an early medieval alphabet known as Ogham, which was used between the 1st and 9th centuries as part of one of the earliest Irish languages. The Newton Stone has 6 lines, 48 characters and symbols, and there's even a swastika in there for good measure. Currently, the message is still undeciphered. Is this unknown script a modern hoax, or remnants of a lost people? While skeptics agree it is an old rock, beyond that, the rest is up for debate. Number 3. The Taming of Fire. Do you know when we started using fire? This was long up for debate, but now, according to new archaeological evidence, humans mastered fire about 350,000 years ago. This is based on some burnt flints recently discovered in Tabun Cave in the north of Israel, leading experts to speculate that these were some of the first tools ever used by early humans to make fire. But this discovery doesn't come without its controversy. These flints discovered on the cliffs of Israel's Mount Carmel may indeed be the oldest physical evidence of humans manipulating fire, but the archaeological site itself has evidence that humans inhabited the area for 150,000 years prior. Archaeologists figured this out by looking at flints from 100 different layers of sediment. Everything older than 350,000 years showed no evidence of burning, meaning the flints could not have possibly been used to start fires. But suddenly, 350,000 years ago, there was a huge surge in the number of flints that had been exposed to flame. This suggests that the humans living here had a sudden eureka moment. The issue here is that scientists don't know what suddenly gave humans the ability to control fire. However, scientists generally agree that when humans figured it out, it changed our history forever. We began to spread into the colder climates of the world and started cooking our food. Dr. Ron Scheimelmitz from the University of Haifa says that understanding the time frame surrounding our discovery of fire can help experts to understand our evolution over the course of our entire existence. Number 2. Viking Dope. Did ancient Vikings smoke marijuana? Researchers have recently found traces of cannabis at the only verified Viking settlement on the mainland of North America, suggesting the possibility that these ancient warriors had been using cannabis for either medicinal or recreational purposes. This happened in 2018 when archaeologists in Newfoundland discovered pollen from the cannabis plant at the ancient site of Lansdowne Meadows, originally founded by the Vikings around 910 AD. Until just recently, scientists had assumed the site was only occupied for a brief time. But according to the new research published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, the truth is that they may have lived there all the way until the 13th century, which would be around 300 or 400 years. To put that into perspective, Canada hasn't even been a country that long. As for the cannabis, Vikings probably traded their own goods with the local tribes, perhaps trading things like weapons or metals for things like meat, wild grapes, butternut squash, and marijuana. Number 1. Shipwreck Treasure. Archaeologists were left shocked when they discovered the remains of an amazing shipwreck just off the coast of Panama. The biggest surprise from this discovery is that researchers believe the vessel could have belonged to the infamous Captain Morgan. The discovery involved researchers from Texas State University who were diving at Laha Reef. They unexpectedly found a chunk of the hull of a ship named Satisfaction, which historians know belonged to Henry Morgan, the Welsh privateer, plantation owner, and lieutenant governor of Jamaica. Captain Morgan had his settlement in Port Royal, from which he raided various settlements and owned 3 huge sugar plantations. Captain Morgan even targeted Panama City back in 1671, attacking it after landing on the Caribbean coast. But during the assault, Captain Morgan lost an estimated 5 vessels. This newest wreck is believed to be one of those very ships. It was even discovered with unopened cargo boxes, treasure chests encrusted with corals, and 6 iron cannons slowly being corroded by the salty water. And while Captain Morgan's body, of course, wasn't on the ship, a small piece of his history was, and that alone makes it a fascinating discovery. And in case you were wondering, yes, this is the infamous Captain Morgan that is still being used today on the rum bottle. Thanks for watching! What's your favorite recent archaeological discovery? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time! Bye!